When I hit the beach, I wound up with 310 in my company. 6 weeks later, 18 of us walked off with no officers. And Billy and I were 2 of them.
A lot of people never heard of things like Iwo Jima. You've mentioned that to these young people nowadays, and they think it's a cuss word or something. We were in the same platoon. He was a kind of a happy-go-lucky guy.
This is my boot camp picture, graduation.
Don and Billy will be coming to Washington, D.C. this weekend for the National Memorial Day Parade. Big public spectacle, of course, honoring the sacrifices of generations. But while they're here later that day on Memorial Day, and more of a quiet moment, we'll be taking them over to Arlington Cemetery, where they'll be visiting the grave sites of 2 of their friends from the Battle of Iwo Jima, who are seen in the famous photo of the flag raising 81 years ago on Mount Suribachi.
Billy Bird is a very quiet Southern boy, and he doesn't like a lot of crowds. He doesn't like to do he doesn't like to fly, but he's coming.
I'll be glad to see him, I think. He'll probably be glad to see me, too.
After a weekend of meetings at the White House, President Trump says a framework deal with Iran is nearly finalized. Iran's top negotiator and foreign minister are in Doha today for further talks. But a senior Trump administration official indicated it could take days to reach a memorandum of understanding.
People talk to our negotiators about making a deal, and then when it really gets down to it, those concessions are not made.
The potential deal would formally end the war and see the Strait of Hormuz gradually reopened without tolls before addressing the disposal of Iran's highly enriched uranium. If Tehran holds up its end of the bargain, the U.S. is weighing unlocking billions in frozen Iranian assets.
We have what I think is a pretty solid thing on the table in terms of their ability to open up the straits, get the straits open, enter into a very real, significant, time-limited negotiation on the nuclear matters.
But President Trump says he won't rush an agreement, writing in a post on Truth Social, quote, "It will only be a great deal for all or no deal at all. Back to the battlefront and shooting, but bigger and stronger than ever before." A military advisor to Iran's supreme leader said this about the negotiations overnight.
The Islamic Republic is telling you that if you continue the war, we will make the American people miserable and the American economy miserable. Iran is here for a fair negotiation with you.
The president says a blockade of Iranian ports will remain in effect until the deal is signed. In Tel Aviv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
The war with Iran could soon come to an end. The U.S. and Iran have announced a framework for a possible peace deal. President Donald Trump posting on Truth Social Sunday, saying in part, both sides must take their time and get it right. There can be no mistakes. Our relationship with Iran is becoming a much more professional and productive one. The Trump administration, meanwhile, continues to insist on certain stipulations that must be met.
They will never possess a nuclear weapon, certainly not as long as Donald Trump is president of the United States.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio discussed the progress while visiting New Delhi, India Sunday. As part of the framework, a source says the White House also wants to see Iran give up its stockpile of highly enriched uranium and reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
If those items are not met, then it looks like the agreement might be off.
Since the war began, maritime traffic through this key waterway has essentially halted. Previously, 20% of the world's oil supply traveled through the Strait of Hormuz. It's caused a massive disruption in the world's oil supply, sending prices soaring.
prices are going up, interest rates are going up, and we're mired in this conflict with Iran.
As of Sunday, the national average for a gallon of regular gas was $4.52, according to AAA. Prices at the pump have gone up more than 50% since the war began. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
At 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest.
Emergency crews responding after gunshots rang out near the White House over the weekend. It happened just before 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday.
EMS 7, Medic 1, respond for shooting at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest.
According to a Secret Service spokesperson, an individual approached a checkpoint just outside the White House complex and opened fire on officers. Secret Service agents returned fire and hit the suspect, who was hospitalized and later died. A law enforcement official said a bystander struck by gunfire in the incident was in critical condition. It's not clear if the bystander was hit by the suspect's initial shots or during the subsequent exchange of gunfire. No Secret Service agents were injured. President Donald Trump was in the White House as the shooting was unfolding nearby.
There are heavily armed White House police there around the corner in the driveway. There's not a shot that you could fire towards the residents from 17th and Pennsylvania Avenue.
Still, the action to secure the White House was swift. The Secret Service initially put the White House complex on lockdown and rushed reporters on the North Lawn into the White House briefing room where they sheltered in place. The lockdown was lifted after about 40 minutes. I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Good morning. I'm TJ McGovern, Interim Fire Chief for the Orange County Fire Authority, and this morning I'm here with our Incident Commander, Chief Craig Covey. We're going to give you a brief updating about our mission that we had last night. We are happy to report that the threat of a levee is now off the table. That threat has been eliminated.
Our members went into that exclusion zone again to validate what we were seeing and get those temperatures. The crack is there. We have verified that it's there and the tank has released its pressure. Additionally to that, the temperature has been stabilized and actually reducing. It is currently 93 degrees, down from 100 degrees. We were not doing tank temperature checks during the day while the sun was on it in the most extreme conditions for that tank to go the wrong direction. We were only doing tank temperatures at night. That's why there was delays in getting you guys that information, because we didn't want to put our members in harm's way and let that thing settle during the day, work on the other objectives that we needed to accomplish, and then go operational at night. So we are really pleased and excited to tell you the levee is off the table.
We want to be clear that the evacuation zones are still in play. Please abide by those evacuation zones. Once again, we appreciate your support and the patience while we work through this incident together.
I'm in the co-pilot seat of a Cessna.
1, 2, 3, good.
And I'm about to find out what happens when the pilot flying is not human, but artificial intelligence.
This is our experimental caravan.
Tim Burns is the Chief Technology Officer at Merlin Labs, a Boston startup developing a system that can be bolted into existing airplanes. Merlin says its system can fly the plane, talk to air traffic control, and even help make decisions about weather and routing.
We're trying to capture the judgment and abilities of a real aviator.
Merlin says it has completed hundreds of test flights to see how the system performs in real-world conditions, though it is likely years away from carrying passengers. In the back of the plane, one of the company's engineers is monitoring what the AI is doing in real time.
I don't know if I know exactly what I'm in for here.
Alongside me is test pilot Matt Diamond, who on this flight won't be doing much piloting at all.
So this is just a manual takeoff?
This is going to be an automated takeoff.
Oh, this is an automated takeoff.
Yep.
Meaning the AI system is flying the airplane from the very start.
Wow. Nicely done.
The next part of the demonstration, communicating with air traffic control. Merlin's system displays its language processing on an iPad as it listens to a mock controller, repeats the instruction, and then flies the airplane to match it.
Magic 01, turn left heading 090, descend 2000.
Left 09, 0 and down 2000, Magic 01.
And clear to authorize.
Authorize.
We're at about 1,500 feet now over Newport, Rhode Island, and we just turned on to the final approach here at Quonset State Airport. Now this is going to be an automated landing, and the system will fly the airplane all the way down to the pavement.
It's a challenging problem for the automation, but once you crack the code, then it's so much easier on the pilot.
You seem pretty confident over there.
Oh, yeah.
You seem pretty relaxed. Should I be this relaxed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. As a pilot and a bit of a control freak, this is not exactly easy for me. But the system lines up with the runway and flies a gradual descent all the way to touchdown.
Smooth, easy, right on center line.
Even still, putting AI in control of an airplane raises big questions about safety and trust. Merlin CEO Matthew George.
What we're building is certainly very sci-fi, but we're doing it in a responsible, incremental way.
Will this put pilots out of jobs?
It won't. This is sitting alongside pilots, not necessarily replacing pilots, and enabling those pilots to do more of what they do best, which is operate aircraft safely.
That could be appealing to airlines worldwide, which will need to hire more than 600,000 new pilots over the next 20 years, according to Boeing. Merlin has already secured a $100 million contract with the U.S. Air Force to eventually fly cargo planes without pilots on board at all. But convincing passengers may be the hardest part.
As long as it's safe and more efficient and tested out in advance, I'm for it.
But I don't know if I trust AI in the air. I doubt I trust it.
I like the idea of humans having control. I don't like the idea of machines having control.
Millions of Americans have plans to kick off the unofficial start of summer this Memorial Day weekend. And whether you're going to the beach or a backyard barbecue, you'll likely be doing so with a drink. 86% of those 21 and older who drink plan to enjoy alcoholic drinks this summer, according to a new survey commissioned by the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking.
People are continuing to drink, but actually doing so intentionally and in moderation has become something that defines all generations, with Gen Z perhaps seen to be in the lead.
While younger adults are often thought of as the dry generation, the survey finds nearly 3/4 of Gen Z do drink. They're just shaking up how they drink. With moderation in mind, many are opting to practice zebra striping, alternating between an alcoholic drink and non-alcoholic drink, and nonamaxing, a reference to Italian grandmothers.
That's the practice of drinking over a meal with friends and family, maybe at home, where alcohol is part of the occasion, and really the occasion is about being present in the moment.
Prioritizing wellness is at the forefront of the culture shift, with the no and low trend driven by intentionality.
What comes through from the data is how important it is that they are in control, that this is part of a balanced lifestyle, that alcohol is something that complements the occasion, it doesn't define it.
As all generations think about drinking this summer, moderation is key for over half, edging out taste as the top consideration for the first time.
9 out of 10 Americans think it's very important that they decide for themselves how they drink, rather than alcohol defining your choices.
Approaching alcohol with balance and limits has had a positive effect. Underage drinking in the United States is down 40% since the 2000s.
It shows that actually successive generations perhaps are turning away a bit from the binge drinking of the past, or the underage drinking you might have seen in the past.
In New York, Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
Millions of students are walking across the stage to receive their degrees this month, but a poll from Monster shows 89% of them are worried AI could replace them in entry-level jobs. That's a 25% jump since last year. Experts say sharpening your interview skills and learning how to leverage AI can make you stand out in the rocky job market.
So you've got to become indispensable. And being human means that you know how to hold a conversation. You can be personable, be authentic, tell stories, and do things that AI can't do.
Dr. Forbes Riley, author of Pitch Secrets A to Z, says in order to make an impression during your job interview, you should do some research on who you're speaking with.
You can go on LinkedIn and find the name of the person that you're going to meet. And having some personal connection is always a really good thing. Most people don't think to do that.
Nailing an interview while highlighting your skills is key. Riley argues one of the best ways to do so is to find some common ground.
Can you weave in a story about your life and make you more personable and attractive? And then again, once you know a little bit about them, can you find a common ground?
Another important tip Riley has is keeping your interviewer engaged during the conversation.
Are they sitting there like this? They're kind of glazed over. They're glancing down at their phone. They can't wait for this to end. That's your indication that what you're talking about is not igniting them. So be exciting and be interesting in that and be intriguing.
And as artificial intelligence is rapidly developing, Riley says the best thing new grads can do is to embrace the change. Max Gordon, Fox News.
It's never easy turning over the car keys to your child, but this time of year can be especially concerning as the next 100 days are considered the deadliest for teen drivers.
That's when teens drive more, they have more free time, and they're often driving in higher risk conditions.
Jonathan Asani with Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health says any new driver, regardless of age, is more prone to car crashes, but inexperience is just a part of what makes driving riskier for teens.
Because their brains are still developing and they have more difficulty calibrating risk, frankly.
Teens between the ages of 16 and 19 have a fatal crash rate almost 3 times higher than drivers ages 20 and older per mile driven. While car crashes are a top cause of death among teens year-round, they tend to spike in summer, rising by 30% between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Not using a seatbelt, distracted driving, speeding, substance use, and having teenage or young adult passengers in the car are all factors that also raise a teen's driving risk.
In addition, driving late at night, particularly between 9 p.m. and midnight, is associated with an elevated crash risk.
To reduce risk, parents can monitor their teens' driving, set clear rules and expectations, like always wearing a seatbelt, not using the phone, and not driving with other young people in the car. Choosing a vehicle with safety features is also important.
Crashes are predictable, they're painful, but they're preventable.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Lazy days at the pool, town parades, and backyard barbecues. Just some of the ways millions of Americans are marking Memorial Day. For some, celebrating includes buying alcohol, about 44% according to a Numerator report. And while most people know drinking in excess is dangerous, experts say there are other risks to be aware of.
Most Americans in general aren't aware that alcohol consumption increases the risk of cancer.
A Surgeon General advisory released last year warns consuming alcohol increases the risk of developing at least 7 types of cancer. Research finds women are at higher risk than men, especially if they drink more per week.
We found that less than 1/3 of them were aware that alcohol increases the risk of breast cancer.
Dr. Darren Mays is leading a study looking into how counter-marketing campaigns to raise awareness can impact young women.
The work that we're doing now is really designed to understand how can we communicate about this risk with a particular focus on social media.
One such campaign is already in place in New York, dubbed Buzzkill. Ads are running on subways, public places, and social media. Messaging is focused on raising awareness so the public can make informed choices.
Decades ago, half of adults in the U.S. smoked, and now it's historically low in terms of the prevalence of smoking. And those types of communications were one of the interventions that made a difference to achieve that.
The campaign in New York is running through the month of May. A wider effort, like a warning label on alcohol bottles about cancer risk, would need approval from Congress. In New York, CB Cotton, Fox News.
Ultra-realism is actually the hardest thing to do. It's hard to fabricate ultra-realism.
Idris Elba says realistically he was never in the running to play James Bond. The fan-favorite actor tells People magazine, despite years of speculation, the current search for the next 007 does not include him. My name's not getting thrown out, no way, says Elba. They're going younger, and I wish them all the luck in the world.
What's your problem, Kazansky? You're everyone's problem.
A Val Kilmer Top Gun prop leads the latest golden pop culture auction. Iceman's flight helmet from the iconic film includes the oxygen mask and hose connector. Other items up for bid include an Xbox 360 Pac-Man World Championship console signed by Pac-Man creator Toru Iwatani, and a copy of Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man in a Marvel comic. The auction runs through June 17th at golden.com. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
So how does this work? My son's assistant being here.
It's a very unusual situation.
Will you be sitting beside me at the funeral?
Well, no, I mean,
Why?
I couldn't.
You're doing everything else for Tyler. Why can't you be my son on the day?
Well, because I'm no replacement for it.
You'd be surprised how low that bar is.
Allison Janney and Andrew Reynolds star in Miss You, Love You.
I know Tyler won't check in when he gets back. That's what our relationship has become. Just large chasms of time pass with no communication, and then I'll get the arbitrary text. Miss you and love you, Mom. You get that one too.
The stars say they were hooked by the script from writer-director Jim Rash.
I was like, oh boy, this is a role. This is a journey. This is unlike anything I've played before, and I'm terrified of it, and I'm excited by it, and of course I have to do it.
You look at things as an actor, you're like, well, that's going to be really fun to do, and that's going to be really challenging to do. But just on the whole, I was like, I've never gotten to be responsible for this much.
Mm-hmm.
Strangers have an ability in a moment to offer a mirror to ourselves because we can be more candid. We're not going to see this person.
You could have texted him yourself, but instead you chose to stay angry. I've shown him nothing but love because I knew he needed it. It just comes with a price.
Jamie very much navigates through his whole life thinking it's just better to do it by yourself, and then finds himself in this moment with Diane, who's
a complete control freak and cannot control her grief, cannot control her son, cannot control anything, and she is so much anger and resentment, and then he comes in and it's just...
You're floored that he doesn't want to come running back to your arms.
I am his mother!
Well, then fight like one.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
So MomoCon is a weekend celebration of anime, animation, cosplay, gaming, music, and more culture. We have over 1.5 million square feet of space that is going to be vendor, gaming, and guest autographs and more.
I think that there's an interest for everyone here. I've seen video games, comics, anime, manga, VTubers, video game, everything, console stuff, Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's for everyone. If you have an interest, it's probably here. I found out that a lot of stuff I like is here, so.
I think it's really awesome, especially seeing how big of a community cosplay is. It really makes you feel like you can be yourself and express yourself in ways that you normally can't, which I think is really awesome.
It does make me feel pretty nice. It makes you feel pretty welcome, right? It's not normal to dress this way, right? Or a lot of these different ways out here, but it's really, it's very nice to be able to be around people who are just like-minded in general. People who are into some of the same things as you are, right? I grew up loving video games, and, I imagine a lot of people here did too,
In Wisconsin, officials say a driver's questionable decision led to a very sticky situation. Video from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation shows a pickup truck that got stuck in wet concrete on an interstate ramp in Milwaukee County. The department says the driver physically removed a road-closed barrier before driving into the freshly poured concrete. The truck got stuck and had to be plucked from the muck. For future reference, if you're looking for a sign to steer clear of trouble like this, the big one reading "Road Closed" is it.
Fox 54 Plus has your news, sports, and weather. Start your evening with Fox 54 at 5:30, delivering the latest headlines and live reports straight from the scene. Then, stay informed with Fox 54 News at 9, featuring your Tennessee Valley certified most accurate weather impact team, tracking everything from tornado threats to traffic delays during severe weather. Fox 54 Sports Extra brings you more of what sports fans crave, with deeper insights, expert analysis, and all the action that matters most. On Fox 54 Plus, you'll also find Alabama politics, Plus 24/7 weather radar and real-time forecasts to keep you ahead of the storm. Looking for a quick recap? Don't miss Fox 54 Week in Review, highlighting the biggest stories of the week. Jumpstart your morning with Morning Rush. Fast-paced news updates featured with uplifting stories from across the globe. Get your entertainment fix with Getting Real, where we break down movie reviews, top 10 lists, and spotlight the newest film. Die Hard fan? Locked On Sports dives deep into the Crimson Tide, the Tigers, college rivalries, and pro action. True Crime Warrior Style? Killer Cases brings you gripping real-life stories that stick with you. Hungry for more? Cooking with Style serves up mouth-watering recipes that are easy to make and impossible to resist. From movie previews before you head to the theater with Take a Look to must-know headlines from across the region and around the world with In the News. Watch all of these shows on demand and also on the Fox 54 News app. Available on Android and iOS devices. Streaming 24/7.
There's more to Fox 54 Plus with the Locked On Podcast Network. From the Tide to the Tigers, from college teams to pro, the Locked On Podcast Network gives you insights and analysis you just can't find anywhere else.
These kids, they want to play.
And I don't think so. I think it was Chad Baker-Mazzara.
Locked On Sports, streaming every day of the week and right here on Fox 54 Plus.
This is what he's going to tell you.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
Be the jury and to find the defendant